Not too long ago, I had an opportunity to speak to several different women about a couple different topics, PCOS and menopause. I wanted to talk about how these intersect. I think some people had a little hesitation in terms of what is a man talking about or discussing with females about female issues. I think you have a unique opportunity to address this in a far different manner. One of the people after the talk was saying to me, I've never thought of it that way in terms of dealing with my body and what is going on. I've always been on the other side of this. And the other side of it would be more of an emotional side of it. What you're dealing with, what's going on, how you're feeling about you talk about your struggles, you talk about all the symptoms that you're experiencing. But my approach when it comes to the PCOS, the menopause, it's what about the metabolic component? And if we get control over this metabolic component, then the likelihood of us controlling the hormonal component is far greater. So there was a study that I read that was talking about how 75% of women who are going through perimenopause or in menopause, they're experiencing hot flashes. Well, there was a 25%, which no one really talks about because everybody's always focused on that 75% here, trying to handle their symptoms. When we start talking about the 25%, what was going on with the 25% is they had ideal metabolic function. They didn't have those issues. Metabolically, they were in good shape. They didn't have the experience of all the hot flashes and the brain fog, all the things, because they had their body in a place that can handle that transition. And so I think there's a benefit when it comes to working with a male who can take the emotional part out of it. It's like, because we don't know that, we can't relate to that. However, we can, the scientific component, this is how the body functions. These are the things that may be missing. These are the things that we need to get up to par to have an ideal situation in terms of the numbers, right? When you come out to your test, these are testing numbers that we need to have. When you have all that stuff into play, then it's a different situation altogether. Because you can focus on these are the steps that I need to do to get my body to where it needs to be, so I don't have to experience all the horror stories from other women about hot flashes and not being able to sleep at night and the brain fog and all that they've heard. But nobody's really talking about how do we get the ideal metabolic function? How do we get our body prepared for this type of transition? Right. And we're going to have all the weight gain. But if you have all the muscle, do you have all the weight gain? We're going to have the bone loss. Well, if you're doing activities to make sure you're actually sustaining and growing bone versus losing bone, are you really losing it? Like it's for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Or, you can get up in front of it is basically what I'm saying. It's possible to get in front of these things to make sure that you don't have these issues down the road. So I say all that to say, in the program, the Synergy Slim program that I do, we work with people where they are with what they have going on. But the Synergy Slim is a holistic protocol in terms of how we plug and play different components and what works for a person. Some people may be nutrient deficient, so we work on that. Some people may have gut health issues, so we work on that. It's unique to everyone. A lot of times when we say, oh, it's a hormone issue, everybody kind of gives it up. But if there's a way to deal with the hormones prior to them becoming a hormone issue, I think you have to look at that a little bit differently. And I introduced the idea to these women I was speaking to of maybe it's not you're just estrogen deficient. Perhaps you're like you have estrogen resistance in a sense of it couldn't. Maybe it's not that you're just missing it. Maybe it's just you have too much and your body's not responding to it the way it should. And if it's not responding, how do you address the receptor versus just giving you hormone therapy? It requires work. Yes, it does. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that type of work. But if you're somebody who's okay with doing that work because you're going to work yourself through this in a way that you can, stay on top of it and direct it a little bit better, I think you should. So there's a link somewhere around this video to book a call with me. Let's chat about it. See how we can help. See what we can do differently to make better experience for you.